I worked 80 hours a weeks to buy my parents a farmhouse in cash. 6 years later, I came home and found them living like servants in the house I gave them. The very first thing I noticed after returning home for the first time in 6 years wasn't the white farmhouse with the wide wraparound porch that I had worked myself to the bone to purchase. It wasn't the piece of land my father had dreamed about owning since he was a young man. It wasn't the peaceful retirement I had imagined for the two people who had given up everything to raise me. It was my father, standing in the blazing summer heat, sweeping the long gravel driveway. His faded flannel shirt clung to his body, drenched in sweat. The broad shoulders that had once carried heavy sacks of feed across the farm looked noticeably smaller. His back, once straight and proud, was now permanently bent in a way I had never seen before. Meanwhile, Jessica, my sister-in-law, sat comfortably beneath the porch shade with her mother, Susan. The two of them sipped iced tea from crystal glasses, covered in expensive jewelry and luxury skincare products that I recognized all too well. Those comforts had been paid for with the money tastefully sent every month. Believing it was helping my parents afford their medicine, I stayed inside my truck. Both hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white, because my mind refused to believe what my eyes were showing me. That couldn't be my father. Not Arthur. Not the man who used to lift me onto his shoulders so I could reach the barn rafters when I was little. But it was him. Older, thinner, worn down. Then Susan glanced toward him and snapped, "Be careful, old man. You're getting dust all over my designer sandals." Something tightened painfully inside my chest. Every instinct told me to get out of the truck, to demand an explanation, to ask how anyone could speak that way to the man who had spent his entire life protecting everyone around him. But I stopped myself. I needed the whole truth, because betrayal almost never begins with one cruel moment. It starts the day someone realizes they can keep taking, and no one will stop them. Every 80-hour work week came rushing back into my memory. The freezing apartment in Chicago where I survived on the cheapest meals I could find because every spare dollar went toward buying that farmhouse. The winter coat I never replaced. The vacations I never took. The years I spent convincing myself every sacrifice was worth it because one day my parents would finally have the peaceful life they deserved. I never did it for luxury. I never wanted recognition. I never cared about anyone's approval. I did it for them. And now I was watching the home I had but become the very place where they were treated like unpaid servants. The worst realization hit me a moment later. This hadn't started yesterday. Someone had been hiding it. Someone had been answering my calls, accepting my money, convincing me my parents were comfortable and happy while they quietly suffered. At last, I opened the truck door. I wasn't walking toward that porch as a son returning home after years away. I was walking toward it as a man who had finally uncovered the truth. The moment Jessica spotted me standing there, the smile vanished from her face. Because the one thing none of them had ever expected was that I would come home early enough to witness what had really been happening.